All right, this is a controversial take, but you know what's worse than the Phillies Karen fan who demanded the home run ball back from the dad? What's worse is how the dad showed his son, you just give in to a bully and give them what they want. And I'll tell you this, God, he has not put that spirit of fear, that spirit of passivity in us that says just give in to evil. That's not who he is, and that's not who he's created us to be. This is Rugged, and I'm Trey Tucker. I'm a mental health therapist, and we're here to make your 20s and 30s legendary. All right, in case you haven't seen it, there was a home run ball that two Phillies fans fought over. Home run ball lands, it's anybody's ball. It happens to land closer to a woman, but a guy was fast enough to run over and grab it first. He grabs it and hands it to his son. Thought the story was going to end right there. Happy ending. The boy gets a home run ball, but the woman comes over and literally assaults the guy, slaps her hand on his arm, points the finger in his face, and gets all mad. And it's all on video. We're going to put it down below. And ultimately, the dad is frightened. He's shocked. He can't believe that somebody just came up randomly, started to physically assault him and scream at him. But the bottom line was he gave in. He gave her the ball when he had no reason to do that. That ball is up for grabs. It's not like he took it from her hands. So the son's witnessing all this. The son is actually holding the ball at first, and then he sees the bully get her way. So what lesson is that teaching? We'll go into that. All right, first lesson is the dad, just by example, showed, you know what, when there's a bully and there's a confrontation, you need to back down. And then also the boy probably noticed, well, if I want to get my way, I just need to raise my voice. I need to get in people's face. I need to demand that my way is better and just use the bully tactics that this woman was using. And both terrible lessons, because a true man, number one, is going to protect. He's going to protect his family, his friends from the bullies. That's number one. One of my favorite scenes from American Sniper is when the dad talks about you're either a sheepdog, or a wolf. The sheep are the people that can't protect themselves or won't. The sheepdog is the one assigned to protect people who can't or won't protect themselves. And then the wolf, of course, is the evil. And true men are meant to be the sheepdog, the protectors. And this dad failed at that. Also, the son now sees, okay, well, if I just, whatever I want really badly enough, I'm going to just bully my way in and roll over people, steamroll them just because I want it more than they do. And it's sad to see that that's the example that was set forth in front of the son. Now, I got to back up and say, in the moment, I don't know how exactly I would have reacted. None of us really know how we definitely would react, but I know how I would have liked to have reacted. I would hope that I would be the one that would remain calm, because when you see somebody who's just stark raving mad, one of the best things you can do is gray rock them and don't give them any reaction. And if you want, you can not even say anything. You can just give them the most neutral look on your face. Any words or any other emotional reaction is just going to feed that bully's reaction. So I would have liked to have thought, I'd like to think that I would have stayed calm and just stand there calmly and make her look like the crazy idiot that she looked like. But instead, his nervous system put him into fight, flight, or freeze mode. At first, I think he went into freeze mode because he kind of coiled up. And then there's also another F. You know, we've heard fight, flight, or freeze. That's pretty famous. But there's also fawn. And fawn means you just lay down. You just give up. You give in. It's like do whatever you want. And ultimately, that's the nervous system's way of solving a conflict. Because here's how the nervous system works. It's always scanning for threats. And a lot of times it thinks any sort of conflict is a threat, and therefore that threat might somehow become a physical danger. So your nervous system is going to make a split-second decision and figure out, how do we manage this conflict? Do we need to fight against it? Do we need to run away from it? Do we need to freeze and hope it just goes by us? Do we need to just lay down and let it do whatever it wants? In this case, unfortunately, the man's nervous system put him into freeze mode and then fawn mode, just totally giving in. And if we look at what God tells us to do as men, as specifically as protectors, and then as fathers, husbands, there's a couple verses that stood out to me. One of them is in Psalm 82. It's verse 3 and 4. It says, "Give justice to the weak and the fatherless. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute." And here's my favorite part of it. "Rescue the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked." And then if you look at Proverbs 24, 11, and 12. Rescue those who are being taken away to death. Hold back those who are stumbling to the slaughter. Rescue, protect. These are the traits that God has put into us as men. And even one of God's names for himself is the Lord of heaven's armies. And he talks about the Lord, I am a warrior. And of course, God has many more traits besides that. But we can't overlook the fact that there are times when in this fight of good versus evil, God has put his traits into us. And one of those traits is that warrior. And we're trained, we should be trained to step up and react and to train our nervous system in such a way that we fight when the wisdom is to fight. And if we don't train our nervous system, we're going to fall back to the level of our training. There's the old phrase that goes, you're not going to rise to the occasion, you're going to fall back to the level of your training. And if you never train yourself for a conflict or any sort of a physical threat or even an emotional threat, you're just going to fall back into whatever your nervous system thinks is going to be the safest. And a lot of times your nervous system is going to get it wrong because it's making split-second decisions with no practice whatsoever. I'll give you another example of King David. He did so many great things. He was an amazing warrior, won so many battles and wars, and yet history shows us he was a terrible dad. There was some disconnect there where he did great on the battlefield, but in terms of training his own sons to be great men, to be great warriors, he failed. And I think a lot of that had to do with he just took so many wives for himself, and that was never God's plan for him. He just did that. So with a divided mind and a divided heart, he still succeeded on the field, on the battlefield, but he failed in training his sons. And you can read his story about one of his sons committed the ultimate betrayal against him, and it caused all kinds of turmoil within the whole country of Israel. And remember, God is our ultimate dad. That's, of all his different names, the one he keeps on repeating over and over, and the one that Jesus said, I came to reconnect you to the heart of the Father, the Heavenly Father. So whether you had an awesome dad here on earth, didn't have a dad around at all, or anywhere in between, God himself wants to be your dad, and he wants to father you. And one of my favorite verses is Nehemiah 4:14. And this speaks to the heart of God the Father, who wants to teach his sons, number one, how much he loves us and who we are as a son, but also he's a dad that would never let some bully come and take stuff from us. He wants us to fight. Now, he wants us to fight with his weapons, not the weapons that the world offers, but just to show you he's not the type of dad that's going to teach passivity. Look at Nehemiah 4:14. It says, do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. I got to read that again. I love it so much. Do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. So don't focus on the fear. Focus on who God is and his traits, great and awesome. And then remember those traits are in you because he's adopted you as a son if you're a follower of Jesus. And then remember who you're protecting. Remember who it is you're fighting for, and also the power in you that you're fighting with. Now, this stuff fires me up, and I never would have thought that a whole baseball incident in the stands of a Phillies game would have given us this kind of depth to dive into, but that's why I love just seeing all the different ways God works, both through our actions and our minds and our hearts and our nervous system. And this is all meant to train us to be better men, to be legends in those 20s and 30s decades. Because if we get those decades right, man, the ripple effect will literally impact eternity. Thanks for being with me today. Keep on being legendary, and I'll see you next time.